molweni.
Nkwandela Matashu.
Arisheni.
Nangendef.
The African Studies Center at the Pardee School at Boston University is a gem within the university, nationally and globally. Over the decades since African Studies has been in existence, it has educated thousands of graduates and students about the African continent and what it has to offer the world.
African Studies Center began in 1951 when junior faculty came together and said, we need to have a program that understands Africa. And that then followed with Adelaide Cromwell, who was a newly minted sociologist from Harvard, from Radcliffe. And she came to be a really important cog in not only founding the African Studies Center, but also the African American Studies Center in 1969. James Pritchett was director and inspirational leader and director of the African Studies Center. And in 2014, he'd been elected as president of the African Studies Association and gave the presidential address.
We are the second oldest African studies program in the country, having been founded in 1953. Wherever I went, whoever I talked to, people at Wisconsin, Yale, Michigan State, Indiana, Illinois, they all agree, yeah. Boston University, one of the oldest, most highly respected African studies programs in the country.
African Studies Center at BU has been one of the leading centers in the world for the gathering of knowledge and publication about Africa. It has influence across disciplines and has really helped to influence the way in which the world understands and talks about Africa. BU has been recognized by the U.S. government, the Department of Education, through its Title VI grants as a national resource center.
My work on Ajami, which means the writing of African languages with the Arabic script, opens up new sources of information that were not available before to scholars on Africa.
So the African Studies Library is special because it directly supports the African Studies Center, it supports the research, it provides materials and resources from the continent that our users would otherwise not be able to access. And it really makes it not only a community hub, but a destination for researchers around the world.
African languages are the heart of the African Studies Center. Without an African language, we can't reach Africa as well as we could have.
I love teaching Swahili because it gives my students an opportunity to learn a widely spoken language in Africa, because Swahili was developed at a crossroad of so many civilizations over a millennia. It's provide a history of a world at their fingertips.
I'm studying Swahili because I have always been interested in it. I think it's a beautiful language, so a little different than my home language. And I'm from Africa, so I feel connected to it.
In the future, I'd like to work with wildlife conservation in East Africa, and I even decided to have an African Studies minor because I'd really like to learn more about the cultures and the peoples of Africa since it's so diverse.
I'm studying African languages because I'm African and I want to connect to the continent a lot better. That's where all my people are from, and I feel like a lot of people underestimate its potential.
Ngai na étudier régime Mobutu effectivement, nandingi na comprendre, ndingi ni na régime na ye ba utiliser ba langue mais lingala.
We live in a time where it's more crucial than ever to teach about Africa and to teach it well. And this is what the K-16 education program does. Over decades of outstanding programming, we have affected hundreds of thousands of students through tens of thousands of teachers throughout the nation. We foreground the teaching about Africa that is humanizing, that is affirming of people's histories and agencies. And we have developed over decades an approach to do so.
Africa is important to global studies because it offers a crucible of all the global issues that we confront, from environment to human migration and movement to economic development to issues of conflict, peace, and security. It's got everything, and that's why it's important.
The map How Big is Africa, developed by Dr. Barbara Brown, is one of our brilliant resources that introduces students to the continent's immensity. And through that immensity, they are able to understand the vast diversities of the continent. And students are in awe. Many of the teachers who attend our programs, they talk about it as pivotal, they talk about it as life-changing.
There are 1.5 billion people in the continent of Africa. That's 1.5 billion stories, 1.5 billion futures. This is a tradition you would like to be a part of. Come join us, come support us at the African Studies Center at BU. Zikomo Kwambiri.